Hi everybody, I've been wanting to come to you with a video or a blog, and it's been quite a week for most of us, as I'm sure you can all relate to. A little bit like sort of startled rabbits in headlights, I think, a lot of us, because this kind of seemed to come out of nowhere, this coronavirus and the attendant and resultant effects of it. So I would just like to chat to you a little bit today about the astrology of the moment and where we find ourselves, where we've come from, and how I see the energies of this current time. So first of all, there's a hell of a lot going on astrologically, and these are alignments that have been forming for months and months. I've been doing quite a few talks and blogs, and if you go back on my blog, you'll see quite a few things relating to the Pluto-Saturn alignment, which is happening in Capricorn and happens once every 38 years. So that became exact in January, but it's been leading up to that. And just to explain those energies, first of all, because that's the start of it, that's kind of the core of the alignment that we're working with this year. Saturn and Pluto come together once every 38 years only, so it's a very, doesn't happen often. And when it does happen, it's usually associated with something quite big, and this one's obviously no exception. We didn't see it coming, but we did see something coming. So astrologers for the last year have all been kind of giving their own feel in terms of what they think it is. But all of us kind of agreed that it would be some kind of a collapse. If you look at the energy of Saturn, Saturn is about structure and systems. It's about it's about capitalism. It's about the stock market. It's about money. It's about ambition. It's about the roles that we give ourselves. It's anything that gives us structure. It also rules the bones. It rules the teeth. It builds structures. It rules structures. Like buildings and that kind of thing. It rules companies, big companies. An ice cream truck in the background. It reminds me of when I was a kid. So Saturn basically has a 29-30 year cycle, so it takes that amount of time to go around the zodiac. And Pluto, which is it's another what we call a malefic planet, which means it's a tricky one. Pluto goes around every couple of 100 years. So the two of them don't very often meet up in the sky. The last time they met up in Capricorn, which is where they are, was 500 years or so ago. Now, this one, when we look at Pluto, we look at the energy of Pluto. Pluto is the planet of death, rebirth, and regeneration. So basically, I see Pluto almost as I see him as the plumber of the zodiac, which I've written about in the past. And plumbing, basically, what it does is it goes beneath the surface and it clears out whatever's blocking the pipes, whatever is sitting there that needs to actually be cleared. And this is what Pluto's been doing for the last year or so. It's been preparing us for this. Pluto also, if you look at what it rules pandemics, it rules viruses, it can rule death. This is not necessarily literal death, but it does rule death of sorts. So when Pluto and Saturn come together, when we have them together in a chart, in a natal chart, it will usually mean that there's some kind of death that happens, so that in order for some kind of regeneration or rebirth to happen. And at the moment we're sitting in the tricky position of the old dying. That's what's actually happening. What's also happening with those two, though, and it's something that nobody's really focused on that I've come across, is that Saturn rules our fears. The fears, the conditioned patterning, those old core beliefs that we're not good enough, that we're not going to survive, that we're going to be a bag lady, whatever our particular theme of fear is, that's what Saturn rules. So when Pluto and Saturn come together at the same degree, it's going to basically bring up our fears. Depending on where that is in your chart, that's what's going to be brought up for you. So if, for example, it sits like it does with mine in the second house. Second house is the house of money. It's the house of security. It's the house of belongings. It also sometimes is affiliated with the human body. When it sits in that house, then those are the issues that are actually going to be brought up to the surface to look at. Now, in addition to all of that, we have 2 other planets that have joined the party. So that's on its own pretty big. Now we've got Jupiter, which is what we call a benefic or beneficial planet. He goes around every 12 years. He's the biggest planet in our solar system. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion. So generally in a chart, when we have a Jupiter transit, it can often be a very good thing. This one is kind of connected very, very closely with Pluto and Saturn. And what that can mean is that it spreads, it expands that whatever Saturn and Pluto is doing, it adds expansion, it makes it bigger. Coupled to that, we also have a planet called Mars. And Mars has also joined the party. So that can mean separation. Mars and Saturn together, Mars is outward, forward energy, and Saturn is stop. So it's known as the handbrake transit. When Saturn and Mars are together, it's part of you wants to go forward, but there's something holding you back. So that's a lot of energy all in one place. The difficulty is that it's not going to go away very soon. It is obviously what these planets do is they move away from each other, but what's happening is that from April, the Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn start to move retrograde, which means that they go backwards and then they go forwards again. So this is going to be happening for most of the year. It's going to be going backwards and forwards, and basically it's calling on us to really, really look at where our security lies, where our structures lie. It's possibly calling on us to reassess those structures. That could mean where we live, it could mean what we do for a living, it could mean reassessing where we invest our money, if we've got any left. It could mean our structures in terms of our roles that we play. So if we've always aligned ourselves as a person who does X, Y, Z, so I am a business person, well, that might be called into question for a bit. So we might have to look closer and deeper to see who we really, really are at this time. The other thing I think that is happening for all of us is we've been forced to slow down. We've actually been forced to stop. There's like not much option. And this is global. It's not just happening to one of us. So it's a leveling transit. It's a leveling event. Wherever it came from, whether it was initiated by some dark forces or whether it was we got it from bats or whether we got it because of 5G, there's a lot of different schools of thought about what this actually is. But I don't know if that's as important as how do we deal with it? What do we do with it? How do we work with this energy? For me, it's about noticing the fears that come up, possibly even feeling them, or definitely feeling them, not exiling them. So in other words, not covering them up, not medicating them, not pushing them away, but looking at them and saying, wow, this still is a fear for me. This is something I still need to work with. That's on one level. Being very present for the fears or the anxieties or the emotions that come up without judgment. And that includes others. So all of us are going to deal with this in a different way. The very rich are probably wondering if they're going to lose all their money. The poor are worrying about how they're actually going to buy the next loaf of bread. Those people who have a lot of cash reserves, they might feel a little bit easier with it. But there are people that don't have that, and their livelihood has been affected. So I think it's a time of great compassion, community. They're talking about social distancing. That doesn't mean we have to distance ourselves from people. We can still be there for the people that we love, the people that we care about, and we can be an ear to them. We can listen. If they are going through a rough time, we can just be there to listen, not to fix, not to try and sort it out, not to come up with clever answers, but just to actually be there for them, knowing that we're all different and knowing that we all have different fears, and we're all in a different place. So in that sense, it's really coming from love as opposed to fear, because there are two forces in the universe. There's love and fear. Doesn't mean that we don't go into fear, but the way I see it is the way to eradicate or dissolve fear is with love. So very often we go into fear and then we beat ourselves up because we've gone into fear, and why am I still going into fear? Why am I still feeling fear? As opposed to just saying, yeah, I see you. I'm here for you. I might not understand you, fear. I might not be able to fix you or control you or push you away, but I get it. I get that you're scared. That's okay. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I think that we can do that for ourselves and others. That's going to go a long way to getting us through this event, this situation that we find ourselves in. So, yeah, that's about it from me today. It's going to be with us for a while, so I'll keep checking in with you on one level or another. Just take care of yourselves and love yourself and do the self-nurturing that you need to. Do what you need to do to make you feel okay. If that means taking a walk if you can, if that means making something creative, if that means making a beautiful meal or reaching out to a friend or a family member, do whatever it is that you need to do in this moment that will make you feel better and help you navigate this.